Hello and welcome to the fine edition of my so-called 8-Bit Life. I'm your host, Roberto Villegas. Joining me today from his remote compound somewhere in the world of Austin, Texas, my hometown, ironically enough, Brandt Hughes. How's it going, sir? I think I just lost internet. Or I lost something, but it's not you.
Sorry, my internet totally just dropped out, or you did.
I think I did because I literally, so thankfully the recording is recording locally, so we're fine. I literally saw, so for those who don't know, we do this live over OBS and everything else. I literally saw so there's a meter, if you've ever used OBS Studio, there's like a meter in the corner, like somewhere around here-ish, that like shows like a color bar kind of thing that's like, here's your kilobits per second, everything's streaming good. It literally went from like green to yellow to red, and it showed 0 kilobytes per second. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I just dipped out of nowhere for like no reason whatsoever. Because it wasn't like a hard like, it was just like, sorry, bro, we lost the packet somewhere along the line. How's it going? But let's get back to the show, which is what this is. I realize something right now, and it just occurred to me. I don't think we've had you on since you made that intro video.
Maybe not. It's been a while.
Yeah, for those who have always wondered, especially that little intro video we played at the beginning, the shortened kind of thing, that is all Mr. Brandt Hughes that did that really, really quickly, based off of assets that Matthew Frazier, Blender MF had done a while back. Because I guess I was doing video, and you had made, I forgot how it is. I obviously tasked you to do that well before you became, Mr. Brandt Hughes, big time in demand Patreon videographer for Modern Rogue type guy.
Sure.
Back when you were doing the lowly work of Scam School.
I think that might have been a little bit after Modern Rogue started, because I remember being like, having a pretty packed tight schedule.
Yeah, I forgot. I mean, because I remember like Modern Rogue is, I think of all the things that Brian has done, and it's interesting just because, as sort of a small YouTube kind of person, small sort of internet type person, I still get the ability to watch like the bigger channels because, I'm either A, working with them, or B, part of a back channel for that. And it's amazing to see just the growth that has had, like the, not simply just like, oh, it's popular. It's like, no, it's a steady, growth. And to then go from, making YouTube content to then now having ad deals to now having Patreon be the brunt of it, in terms of funding. It's just crazy to see just how quickly that's grown. I guess I should ask you, just because, we finally have a chance to kind of chit chat in somewhat public private way of all this sort of thing. But do you feel that the growth is more about the content or more about the way you present it? Because I'm not going to lie, it might be the best shot podcast I've seen, or the best shot like YouTube stuff. I mean, granted, Scam School's really well shot and well done, but like Modern Rogue has almost a cinematic approach, if that makes any sense. And
sure.
And I'm not trying to like just like, oh, Brandt, like I mean that in like all honesty, like it's just, it feels weirdly cinematic for a piece of internet content.
Yeah, I kind of feel you. I think the growth probably comes from an amalgam of the two. I think there are definitely some people who showed up kind of in the same way that Scam School did. A lot of people got on board with Scam School early on because Scam School presented very specific types of tricks. Like, oh, here's the human chimney. It's this weird thing that you can do with your body that you would have no other context or reference for, that you would understand that that's even possible. And then Scam School kind of veered more towards, puzzles and math puzzles and things like that, and card tricks. And so I think similarly with Modern Rogue, there are some people who saw some of the stuff early on, and they're like, oh yeah, here's this cool little DIY thing. Here's this little hack thing. And we've kind of veered away from that. So we've gone less of a sort of tutorial kind of content approach, because originally Modern Rogue was like Scam School, but
well, because Modern Rogue began as sort of the, for lack of a better word, spiritual successor to Hacking the System, as a like a base thing, and in that Hacking the System existed, both Jason and Brian still want to do something like that, and Modern Rogue kind of was birthed out of that. Not saying that was the end goal of it, but that was sort of the
that was the premise.
Correct.
That was the kernel from which things grew out of. Yeah, and I think our approach to it was very similar to Scam School, but without the restriction of it has to be magic focused. So it was a lot of like, oh, we're gonna talk about this thing, and we're gonna teach this thing, and we're gonna demonstrate this thing, and it was structured very similarly to Scam School. And then over time, we realized it's not actually about this tutorial aspect. It's about Brian and Jason find a topic that they're really interested in, and they explore it. And the thing that's great about the show is they're dynamic, and these guys going over like a topic that seems out of reach to a lot of people, but they really ground it because they're not afraid to fail and do stuff like that.
Well, because like the one that really was interesting to me, only because it was I got a little bit of early heads up on it, just kind of being part of all the different channels. Was I think it was a deal you guys did with LastPass, where you did like an actual like password thing, and I am not gonna lie, I didn't even think about certain things. Like I didn't quite like there was a like Brian and Jason like did their sort of text, their talking points and whatnot, but there was something in you had did some visuals where it's like here's the text kind of stuff to kind of just give a more in-depth on screen kind of look as much as I can.
Right.
And I didn't even think about using like Unicode, like emojis in passwords, because it's just a character. And I'm like, that, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you? It was like this weird thing of like that adds a entry point I didn't even think of as that's part of the standard now. And it was like this eye-opening thing of like, even for me as a sort of big InfoSec guy going, oh shit, that's brilliant. And it was, an interesting kind of thing. And two, a lot of people don't really talk about password, security, because everyone sort of just brushes it off, and and knowing that, granted, your audience for Modern Rogue, like, and we've talked about this before, like you and I made the joke, because when it came to things like watching, what was the movie we watched? The high school movie. Fuck. Was singing a cappella. No, it was college a cappella. Was it high school or a cappella?
Oh, Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. We made the joke with one of the characters, being really into magic and nothing to anything. This is not a negative to anybody in the Scam School fan base or anything else, but a lot of people who are in the Scam School fan base are really, really, really into magic, and I've met enough of them to say that, and that's awesome that they have found their shtick, their passion, their love. I am all for that. But the Modern Rogue audience, you mentioned, is like, it feels like it's less into magic, and I like the fact that in conjunction with like episodes like here's how you make a certain drink and here's how to live off the grid to, well, here's something actually kind of practical that you don't think about, and that's password management, and that's something that's really kind of dorky and geeky, but it's something that's highly, highly important in the days of like now when everything you do is digital.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to just the core of it being, the through line with all of it is just, oh, here's an idea that they're really interested in. But as you were saying earlier with like all of the on-screen stuff, that's another part of like the evolving dynamics, which I think is also responsible for some of the growth. Is first at its core, you have Brian and Jason, who have a lot of history and chemistry, and it sort of plays off that in a way that Hacking the System sort of grazed but didn't really see the full potential of. But then you have me as an independent variable, and I act not sort of as an audience surrogate, but also, I act as both a fact checker and and I interject context and reference for things because I have the power of you
have the power of the edit. You have the ability because like I guarantee. It's funny because usually the going to Modern Rogue it's so I'll peel back the curtain a bit only because I've worked audio at least on a few Modern Rogue episodes and way more audio on a Scam School episode. The beauty part of a Modern Rogue episode when it comes to audio is I don't have to worry about any fucking background audio. I'm like that's God I can't tell. Like I've told Brandt this, but my dream if one day all the Bizarre Magic Inc. productions, like somehow we get like this, we rent a space there at the Austin Film Studios, right next to the Austin Film Society and Rooster Teeth. Like we have our own fucking hangar. My dream is that we just we have a bar set and we just kind of switch it up every so often, and we just get a bunch of extras and film there as opposed to filming in a real bar for Scam School. That's my dream because I want to have like the perfect sound and everything else like that. And at that point you could have your sweeping panties. You could have your weird camera angles and shit.
Right? Yeah,
that'd be great. But Modern Rogue is you have a little bit more control in that. But I love But even in then, it's not like there isn't any flubs. I mean, I know you'll put in a Modern Rogue episode some of the outtakes as they're called. And I know I think you guys have that as a do you have that as a Patreon thing? I know you have like the outtakes come out every so often, but I can't remember how they're fed out.
The way that our outtakes are structured is that's basically a patron early access thing.
That's what I thought.
It's like a 4-day lead or something like that.
That's why I figured. I knew it was something along those lines. But what I mean to say is that you have the ability to make Brian and Jason sound way dumber than they are. I mean, because Brian and Jason are smart guys, and on camera they play, schlubby kind of, not schlubs, but just, I forget what the term that they use for what their characters are on Modern Rogue. Because they're not, Jason's just he works in freaking web stuff, I think, or used to. And Brian's, has done TED Talks and shit. So I'm not, I can't say anything bad. But on Modern Rogue, they're just sort of like, hey, we're not hey, we're wild and crazy guys, but they come off a little bit more. We don't know what we're doing, and to a certain degree, they may not, but most of the time they kind of have a way more solid plan than it really appears on camera. But you have the ability as an editor, and I think this is where we always talk about editing and how it's important. You have the ability to edit just to make them complete and utter morons.
Sure, and that's kind of what the outtakes videos are. So like with the episode proper, my job is sort of to make them look good unless it serves a purpose.
Right.
So if they totally screw something up, I'll cut it out unless we can learn something from it, right?
Right, unless you can kind of make a piece of content or that is part of the flow of something like I remember, and it was the episode I did audio for was the what was it, the jail wine, what's it called? I know it starts with a P. Pruno, and that was a fun shoot to be a part of because they're just mashing literally just anything that can produce sugar, and as I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about this, but I remember that at the time, what was it? One of the guys that was there working at the warehouse or where all the scam school stuff is happening, all the scam stuff like shipping and all that things. They had apparently left it in a bag and put it in the dark and put it in the corner of that room. And I think it was one of them someone came back and there were just like a ton of flies or some crazy shit. Like it got bad, and it's just again, it was that I think you guys included something about that. I hope, if nothing more.
I think there might have been a one-off line or two.
Yeah, because I remember they were smelling the stuff and they're just maybe play it for a certain bit of the camera, but I was a little far back, and you could kind of smell this this stuff because it didn't, it wasn't tasty, but it was just I bring that up in that, like, that would be a mistake you'd want to show. It's like, maybe not leave this in the corner, that, or understand what the heck is going on. Like, this is, rotting, fermenting, fruit particles, and in the hopes that, yeast comes down the tubes and eats it. But yeah, like, that would be a thing you would have, like, an outlay, like, well, we screwed this up, but here's what, why you should learn from this screw up, what we made wrong, and here's what we would have done differently, kind of thing.
Yeah. And, sometimes there's no getting around that. When we tried to cut glass with heated oil, like, that just didn't work for us straight up. So you have to leave in, all of the failures, because otherwise you don't have anything to show. And sometimes it's for the sake of humility, and sometimes it's to make the success more rewarding, and also it's the kind of thing where, if you want to make something and you look up an instructable of how it works, they're going to give you a bullet point list of, like, okay, you do these things and then it's just perfect. But you don't see, like, you just know that in order for them to get that list, they had to go through like 10 variations before that all failed in their own unique ways that taught them really important lessons to get them to that point. So we like to show that kind of stuff.
I can't say how many, when I started beginning working on some, like, retro Pi stuff and doing other soldering, I can't, like I had recently built, like, a Raspberry Pi into a Nintendo case, ended up using, like, the old power switch on there. And, all of it hooked up correctly, but the LED wouldn't come on. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, there was no instruction, like, why the hell is the LED coming on? Power's going through it. As it turned out, like, the way that it's normally wired in a certain polarity doesn't work with the switch. Like, you have to actually reverse the LED. You have to unsolder the LED, reverse it, solder it back in, type thing. But that took me, like, forever to find, like, anyone that mentioned it on a forum. And there have been times where I've read instructables where it's just like, here's how you do it. And it's just like, that, okay, that seems easy. And you get to, like, step 2 and it's like, yeah, do it this way. But just in case it doesn't work, make sure you have your knife and blowtorch ready just in case. Like, I don't have a knife and blowtorch. Oh, damn. Okay. And make sure you don't do this. And by all means, keep the temperature of this. And especially when I guess I should ask this now. Did you ever think, in the history of you filming stuff, like when you began as a little boy editing and filming and making, Cosinar and Cosinar 2, did you ever think that you would film cutting glass with hot oil in any capacity of everything you've done?
No, but I mean, I also I wasn't really forward thinking in that way.
Well, I mean, I don't mean like forward thinking, like, because you've done probably on Modern Rogue, and this is where I'm really jealous of the show versus other things. You have done some amazing, like, video work on that, like in not just like content wise, but like we'll hear I'll see in the channel, just like, hey, we're gonna need some GoPros for this shoot today, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? And it's like, yeah, we're gonna film stunt cars. I'm like, what the fuck? Like there's all this kind of crazy stuff, or I think the episode's out. It's been out for a while, but it was the I can't remember. I think it was the salt gun episode. Was it the salt gun episode? Maybe. I can't remember where. I'm trying to think of where stuff was shot, because I'm trying to remember, like, what order things have come out in. But it's I remember what it was. It was the building armor out of, like, phone books or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And just saying that sounds strange. And I guess that's the question. Did you ever think that, like, how do you feel Modern Rogue is to you? I mean, obviously your mission is to make Brian and Justin look as good as they can, and make it as clean of content, whatever. But as sort of the solo production guy, in terms of, like, all right, filming's done, audio's done, here you go, Brandt, make magic happen. How do you feel that your sort of stamp, as it is on Modern Rogue? Like, what do you feel like that is going to be as time goes on, I guess? It's a roundabout way of
I'm not-
asking what do you think you will do in 5 years as Modern Rogue grows?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It always kind of shifts and varies a little bit depending on what our priorities are at the time. If you told me, 5-10 years ago that I would be making something that a lot of people see as reminiscent of MythBusters, I wouldn't not believe you. But my mind would race to imagine what that would be like. I think I have a lot of input over the voice of the modern rogue and just the tone of the show through just all the editorial decisions. I would love to on some level be like, hey, now we're shooting with ridiculous cameras that we have no right using, and just like everything shot on anamorphic and it's super wide.
I will know that Brandt has complete and utter has gone completely off the rails, has lost everything that he is. When I see on that Slack channel just the Panavisions came in, or just like yeah, we got the Phantom, it's coming down the pipeline, and the new 20K Red, we'll be filming that next week. Just gone mad with power, and it's like every camera dream he's ever had, just like, all right, this is the episode that we're gonna film in directly on film. But like, man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
filming
these 3 vintage Russian anamorphic lenses. Great, love it.
That will be Brandt's stamp. Will be that. Speaking of cinematography, just in general, have you seen Blade Runner 2049 yet?
I have not.
Damn it! I want you to see that so bad. I want to talk to you about that film on not even a film style, but on a just how the heck they filmed it, because it's so goddamn gorgeous, and I want to hear your take on its cinematography.
Yeah, you want to talk about some cool filming? You see that recent episode of Mr. Robot?
Yes. Which one?
That was a cool episode.
Which episode? Because I've been watching every episode of the season, so you have to give me a bit more.
The episode that was one continuous take.
You're right. That was. I didn't think about that until after the fact about that episode, because I'm so kind of caught in the storyline itself of Mr. Robot, in that, like, and for those who are talking about, I'm going to do a quick thing. There may be spoilers right now of season 3 of Mr. Robot. If you've not watched anything of season 3 of Mr. Robot, 1, what the hell are you doing? Go watch that. 2, if you're InfoSec, what the hell are you doing? Go watch that. And then come back here. There may be. Let's
give it a 3-minute.
All right.
3-minute time.
God, you're asking Robert to say, hey, you have 3 minutes to talk about like one of your all-time favorite shows on television right now. Okay,
all right, 4 minutes.
4 minutes. We'll keep it short. Yeah, Mr. Robot. That I didn't realize until watching it a second time. Like, yeah, that is just all one continuous shot, because I'm paying attention to, Elliot and his sister and everything that's going down with I can't remember her name. Shoot, the blonde woman.
White-haired lady.
I can't remember her name, and it's like it's so weird this season, because all the spoilers we're basically talking about, like, you got to choose your side, so to speak, and whose side are you on? And my connection dropped again, but we'll keep that like that. It just dropped for a bit of a second. And man, this is just great. It's great. Look, if there was
a great show.
Look, that's why we have audio recorders. That's why we have recording stuff. So, it's why we have everything we do. But I will probably reset my router, so we get later on. But going back to that, so knowing that was kind of be the theme, it was interesting to see that episode, because it really clearly showed what the sides are and what the stakes are. And Elliot's an interesting character just because of the duality of him as a person, because it's him and Mr. Robot. They're both separate characters, but they're both the same, physical person, which is interesting as a concept. But it's I didn't even realize that was all like one single take until like, oh shit, this has all been one single take. And the way that they've shot it, the way they kind of motion, I may try to watch it again, because I kind of want to see if I can find where the sneak cuts are. But that was the episode that they showed no commercials for, correct? Like on USA, I think.
That probably sounds right.
I mean, I watch it out, after the fact where it's commercial free, because I may pay for certain things, but I'm not screwing with that. I'm going to watch this like this way. But I think that was the episode. I was like, this week, commercial free, and I'm like, that makes sense, because like imagine slipping in a commercial ad during that episode.
Yeah,
like you can't.
It would be pretty counterintuitive. But yeah, it's funny. Bryce the other day was like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Robot, that episode they do something real crazy," and I was like, "Okay, well I'm gonna watch this episode and see what this crazy thing is." And then it was like 10 seconds, and I was like, "Oh, so this is all gotta be one take." Like for just the way that the camera moved, I was like, "I see what they're doing." So the whole episode, I was playing that game of like, yeah, they probably cut here.
That's why I didn't play that game, and I'm gonna have to do it again, because I just like I'm so engaged in the story that I'm not noticing those things anymore, and it's just like fuck. I need to watch it again, because I want to try to find those, because I think like the only time, because I think the last time I played that Where Did They Hide the Cut game was Birdman, which is a fun game to play with that one, because you can kind of see where like, okay, that's where the cut is, and that's where you'd add it, but yeah, it's been a fun. It's so far a great season, and it's amazing that they've, like, if you had asked me about, we'll just say 5, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and asked me would they ever show infosec and hacking and all this kind of stuff in like a very, very serious, cool light, I would say you're crazy, and I would say that would never happen. And I would even say more so if you told me, hey, it's going to be on television, and guess what? It's going to be on USA. And I'll say like, really, the place that just replays wings and shit, I would never in a million years have thought that. And then like Mr. Robot season 1 comes out, and it's like, this is legitly great. This is great written, great shot, everything else, and accurate as hell. And it's weird to be watching a show that like, and I talked about this, I think when season 2 was out, it was weird watching a show where I was debugging a imaginary Linux kernel panic, basically a blue screen of death in Linux land, to see if I could find an Easter egg. That's where I was. That's the world I was in for Mr. Robot. I was decoding something that just didn't exist in the hopes of finding something more on a show. And I've never had that happen with a television show. I've had it with video games and stuff like that, but never a TV show. And it's probably the coolest thing of it. Like, I mean, and I know you're not the biggest InfoSec guy, but
sure.
I'm blown away that that's the level of television we're at now. And it's between that and the other thing. Have you seen Stranger Things? Have you seen season 2 of Stranger Things yet?
Yep.
Like even that was shot gorgeously. I mean, Stranger Things 1 was shot well, but this was like something different. I'm just amazed that that's where we're at now in television. I realize I went off that tangent there.
Sure, yeah, and your 4 minutes are up.
Yeah, we're done. So now we're gonna spoil Stranger Things too. No kidding. Well, what have you been watching? What have you seen movie wise? We haven't chatted about like movies, because usually the only times we see each other are during various work stuff, if that makes any sense. Okay, yeah. I see what's happening on the screen. And for those who can't quite tell by the reflection, and this is something Brandt got me hooked on to, a spreadsheet. Brandt, when did you start this concept? Was it like
2010? Right,
because you introduced it to me, I'll say maybe 2 or 3 years ago. The idea of, and I need to update mine because I forgot to put a lot of the documentaries I've watched. the idea of documenting what you've seen in a year and how many minutes you've watched, how many things like that, and your averages, be it a little bit analytic, but if nothing more, to keep a list of what the hell you've seen in the year. And I kind of expanded that to be like, let me also put games on there because I like to know what the hell I played this year,
Sure.
in that kind of regard, even if it came out. And so I saw the reflection of like White. I'm like, oh, he's opening his spreadsheet. So Brandt, what have you been watching?
And to be clear, this list is not just all the movies that I've seen, but all of the movies that I've seen for the first time. So
Exactly. It doesn't include replays.
stuff.
It doesn't rewatch stuff like that. Like, I think I had recently rewatched. I take it back. I typically will at least once every few months, and even more so just because of what's kind of gone down politically. I just as a weird way of centering myself, I will rewatch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and because of Movies Anywhere now, and that's part of that like deal, I'm able to watch it, streaming off Amazon because I have it on iTunes. Like, cool, so I could pretty much watch it any damn time I want, which is sort of a weird thing to like. Well, it's that time of the week. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, just because it's like it's weird, comforting white noise, and I don't understand why that should be that case. But anyways, what have you been watching, sir? What have you seen?
Recently, I watched Field of Dreams for the first time.
Really?
Not a great movie.
It's Field of Dreams. So
I appreciated that it was weird, but I thought it was kind of dumb too.
So the baseball. I have had this talk with somebody, and the baseball movie, the sports movie has I think two sort of two tracks you can follow, really. And I mean, and granted, any movie can follow these tracks, but you rarely see, for example, a weird science fiction twist on a sports movie. Like you never see like, all right, it's sports time, and the aliens have come down, and now Babe Ruth has to take down the alien.
Space Jam.
Space Jam's. I would say Space Jam's more of a comedy, and this is what I was trying to get at: is that you have a comedy, or you have like a real serious drama on that, like, or and maybe you kind of have the in between, like a League of Their Own, but like
I didn't like A League of Their Own either.
Is it that? But because like you've seen sports movies that you've enjoyed. Have you actually? That's a good question. Have you seen a sports related movie that you've enjoyed in earnest?
Not lately, but I've absolutely seen sports movies that I really enjoy. It tends to be like football movies.
Okay.
But I also like what was that basketball movie with what was it?
Space Jam. Space Jam.
No, I mean Space Jam is great.
Air Bud.
Coach Carter. I actually really like Coach Carter. And Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
I think that's a great movie. There's probably plenty of examples out there.
But the baseball movie's always a hard one, I think, because baseball as a sport is completely and utterly seasoned with history.
Sure.
Well, what I mean in that, like,
I say that as somebody who played baseball for a while. I'm allowed to say it's boring because it was.
Well, it is I will say it is a boring sport in actuality. Baseball is boring in that there are. So when we talk about sports, and we talk about these sort of things, every game has a certain rhythm to it, right? Like in other words, like basketball is this sort of tick-tock kind of thing in terms of like score. That's why the scoring is high and some when after that's why, for example, like things really don't get tense in a basketball game until the fourth quarter, because that's kind of when like, oh shit, now we got to worry. Baseball is kind of a like more of a throw maybe score kind of thing. Soccer is a more kind of a it's low scoring, but it's still much like hockey. It's still kind of intense in that it's like one side can have the up and then the other one can, and it kind of flows. Baseball as a sport is these like micro moments of brilliancy brilliance in that, like, when you watch the highlight reel of baseball, you can make it like so damn exciting. Like, you can see that, like, that last inning catch, that moment where it's just like, you run up the wall and it's like, yeah, I caught the out, and it was like the game winning catch, or the Mets winning the pennant or whatever. Like, there are those I don't know if the Mets ever won the pennant, so don't with this, because you talk with people like friend of the show, Naeem Siddiqui, has huge baseball fan. You hear all these sort of things, and you look up internationally, but there's just a lot of these lull moments of baseball, because it's not a fast thing. It's a very, very long. I mean, 9 innings is a long time in the sports world, and I know no one quite knows that unless you've actually been to a actual baseball game, because you watch it on television, it's just a background, you can move whatever. But if you're at a baseball game, that's why they have the 7th inning stretch, because you've been sitting down for so goddamn long, and you're like, I gotta get up and move around somehow, because it's like we've been here forever. But because that's all you're doing, is you're just waiting for these moments of like, oh shit, something happened. And Field of Dreams is a movie. Because I will say this, what I like about that movie is it's less about baseball and more about what baseball meant to Kevin Costner's character and his father and that sort of thing. And that was like the only real thing. Like, it's less about like baseball as this kind of historical thing. It's almost like the baseball moment in The Sandlot. Like, Sandlot's yes, baseball exists in there, but it's never felt like Sandlot as a movie never felt like it was about baseball. Like, it was about this sort of like memory of what the 50s were like, or the 60s, and that kind of thing, versus what actually happened. But what didn't you like about Field of Dreams? Because it's a Kevin Costner film. It's up there with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
I don't know. If I sat down and really analyzed it, I could probably come up with a laundry list of things that I didn't like about it. It just didn't resonate with me.
No, because it is a very much a like there are movies that are
and also real quick, spoilers. For Field of Dreams.
For like what is like a 30 or 40 year plus movie?
Yeah. So at the end, they're like, yo, I just have a feeling that 1 billion people are going to show up at your house tonight and fork over a bunch of money so that way you can keep your farm. And then they're like, yeah, I trust that gut feeling too, because ghosts are real. And then so that happens, right?
Right.
But like 30 minutes beforehand, all the ghosts are like, yo, like, dog, Mr. Writer Man, yo, let's go out here and let's just go back to this weird ethereal nothingness place. And so they're gone. So there are like 400 people lined up outside the farm, and there are no ghosts. What are they going to do? Are they going to give them money to sit in a field and watch nothing? Because there are no ghosts playing baseball there.
No, they get a real game going. I think they actually give money. It's like, oh, cool, we don't have to be here anymore. Here, they
freed me from this curse. Take all my money.
Exactly, you freed me. Like, we're free from having to watch an hour of baseball, or we're free for the next 3 hours. Let's go have a drink somewhere. No, it's a weird. I mean, that's the idea behind it. Is that it's this crazy man hearing, like, if you really break down Field of Dreams, it's this crazy man hearing, if you build it, they will come. And he's building it. His wife's like, what the fuck are you doing? We're gonna lose our farm. And it's like, no, honey, I must build this giant baseball field in our freaking cornyard. And then they build it. And yes, that's the idea comes, because then it's weird. It's because it's like, I think the weird part of that is, doesn't like James Earl Jones's character like walk into the does he walk into the cornfield and join them, right? Like, that's where like it's his death, so to speak. Like, it's like, come along, man, come join us in the great baseball beyond.
Yeah, and then Costner's like, no, but I want to go. I found you, ghosts. And then they're like, nah,
it's not your
we
time.
just want James Earl Jones.
It's
like,
not because it's not your time yet. It's not. It's again, there's these. there.
So you mean to tell me James Earl Jones died on that field, and 400 people are lined up to give money to see his body on that field?
Of course, he died on that field. It's like the fucking. It's like in Lord of the Rings. It's sailing off. It's the elves sailing into the ethereal plane on the damn boat, and they're like, "Come along, Frodo. You're one of us now. It's time. It's time to go join your other Hobbit brothers because you don't belong here anymore. You've seen so much. You've seen too much shit to deal with this world. Come join us with the elves. It'll be fine."
So logically, does that mean that then the day after Kevin Costner gets arrested because there's the dead body of a really famous writer out in his field, and he's a madman, and then they foreclose on his home, and then
that's
his
assuming
whole
that that's
family is
assuming that
dislocated?
okay, that's assuming that there is a body. I'd want to imagine
He vaporized.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because Look, you had baseball movies. You have your classic baseball movies, and let's lay them out in the field,
Okay.
as it were. Let's put them
Angels
on
in
the
the outfield.
Okay, well that's 4 now. We'll put them on the plates. We'll put 4 on the plates. On home base, we'll put Angels in the outfield.
Okay.
On
place for
second, we'll put Field of Dreams. It is a classic baseball movie, whether you like it or not.
Sure.
On second base, on second base, we'll put The Natural, which is also a classic baseball movie.
I've never seen it.
It's okay.
It
exists, and we'll put on third plate the greatest
Major League.
Yes, Major League. Major League is the greatest baseball movie of all time.
It probably is. It's kind of all right.
Well, because Major League is amazing in that it is like there is the 80s formula, and Major League follows that to a T. And it's so I've watched it again, and there are just I find myself cracking up just at there's a moment in that movie where I forget the character's name, but he's the Serrano. He's on the plate. He's like, all right, I pray to you, Jobu. I do this, whatever. But if you not help me, I say, fuck you, Jobu. I do it myself. And it's just the audacity of we need to make a sacrifice, a chicken. We need a what now? We need to kill a chicken to win this game. How about a bucket of KFC? Can that help instead? It's just this weird thing of because ultimately the scheme is ultimately still used today in an excuse to move a team from a city. And it was a very popular thing. When you look back in the 80s, a lot of professional teams are moving around to find places that paid more money as the economy dipped in certain areas. It's why you have I think the Oilers Oilers used to be Houston, and I think they're now in Tennessee as an NFL team. But there's a lot of those sort of things. But just the idea we're gonna move the team unless they do great. It's all right, boys, we got to win 50 games, else we're all screwed. And it's all the washed up players and people that have no business being in a major league. And it's the freaking, it's an actual baseball team, which I don't understand how the Cincinnati, I forgot the Cleveland Indians. I have to double check my thing, but just the idea of getting that licensed. But yeah, I would say those are your 4 kind of movies, and they all kind of follow, very certain things. Angels in the Outfield being this very much Disney family film, and yes, it's because the thing is that as part of that same genre, you'd have what was the other one, the Prodigy Kid, where he had sprained his arm and could fire a baseball at rocket speed because of that.
I remember that movie, but I have no idea what it's called. I can't remember the title or anything else about it.
I can't remember the title either, but I could think it was The Rookie. I almost want to say it was The Rookie or some bullshit like that. But that's in the same vein as Angels in the Outfield in that it's a kid.
Rookie of the Year.
I knew it was some bullshit title like that, and that's part of that same thing. I forgot who the big star was in that one because it wasn't the kid. Because because Angels in the Outfield, that had Tony Danza.
Gary Busey was in that.
That's right. Gary Busey was in that. I forgot the Buse was in that. That's who the big star was, Gary Busey. But yes, you have like the family kind of movie, right? And Evan No in the chat in a Facebook chat said Rookie of the Year. Thank you so much, Evan No. After all that, you had Angel in the Outfield. You had Rookie of the Year. They're both kind of the same family. There's probably other bullshit like baseball family movies in there. Then you had I would almost say Field of Dreams, and in that same vein like A League of Their Own, and like all those kind of like really almost weirdly historical serious one, because even like The Natural is kind of historical, but I kind of agree in that I think Field of Dreams is I will admit it is a classic film. It is something to at least note in terms of cinema history. I think there's some halfway decent shots in that film, but like again, it's how do you make cornfields interesting? I mean, that's the idea of like Field of Dreams. It's just it's fucking bland shots, but that's not because it has to be. It's just like how do you because even in like Interstellar, they're like the shots of like the fields were kind of bleh, in terms of all the other shots of that film, like that's like the you forget the drone shots of like the overhead, like look, it's a field of corn, like who fucking cares? Not like I've not seen that before. How do you make that pretty? But I still think that there is some interesting things in there, if just nothing more, to have this sports movie with this weird supernatural element to it. Because I don't know anyone that does any other movie that's done that before. Well, I take it back. Yeah. Angel of the Outfield, I guess, but I don't know if you count spirits. I guess it's supernatural would be with angels. I guess it's Field of Dreams and Angel of the Outfield.
Kind of very similar, actually, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. Christopher Lloyd was in Field of Dreams, wasn't he? That's a weird movie. Still, I still love that Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a kid was in that film, and that was like, was that his breakout role? Like, as in like a role, not the role that we talk about him now, obviously, but like the role that he is.
Yeah, I mean that probably put him on the map at the time.
Yeah,
probably.
Because it's like I'm trying to think of other movies. We've talked about our at least I've talked about my man crush on him, and I think you have an equal or at least somewhat of a man crush on the guy.
Sure.
So Field of Dreams. What else? What other old ass movies have you watched that you haven't seen yet?
The gem known as Deep Blue Sea.
Starring the amazing Samuel L. Jackson as Samuel L. Jackson Under the Ocean. Yep.
It's amazing. Those sharks, hell of a thing, man.
Well, look, they ate him. They fucking ate him.
It did.
He went out like a fish.
Like right at the apex of his big motivational speech.
That's the point. Pretty good. Why is it that Samuel L. Jackson has to go out like a bitch? And sometimes I love Samuel L. But like anytime he goes out in like the weirdest scenes. I still think his weirdest role, apparently Jackie Hearn said they heard someone talking about Deep Blue Sea on a podcast today, which I'm kind of curious what podcast that was. I think I know which one it was. Like have you seen shit, what was that? Fuck, I forget the damn movie now. It's a black and white movie. It's not The Shadow. It's fuck. What was that? It's a shitty superhero movie, but it's a weird shitty superhero movie, like set in the 20s. Oh fuck! I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna kill me. I hope someone tells me in the chat room what it is, because I need to figure this out. It's not like the demon or the specter. It's like damn it, this is gonna kill me, and it's like it's a terrible. I'm literally looking through fucking Samuel Jackson's career and realizing he's been in everything.
Meanwhile, I also saw Ingrid Goes West, which is great.
Cool. Okay, what have you seen that's good? Let's go through that. What have you seen that's actually quality?
Okay, Ingrid Goes West was pretty good. 1922 is all right. That's a Netflix original. Spider-Man: Homecoming was pretty good. I enjoyed that. The Babysitter was pretty good. That's another Netflix original.
Right.
I really like that. The Meyerowitz stories, I was very pleased with, in that it was a return to form for Sandler.
Really? Like when you say return to form, and this is an important distinction.
Return to Punch Drunk Love form.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. That was the question was going to come down, was that because Adam Sandler, I know we've talked about this before, has had we'll just say a storied career. We won't go into whether we
Adam Sandler is like a video game boss in that he has three forms. He has kind of good old funny stuff. He has pretty good dramatic kind of indie stuff, and he has really, really, really bad comic stuff that's newer.
Yeah, that's what and I almost want to say that his third form is his ultimate form, is his, can sometimes be his true form, because you look at some of the garbage that has come down the pipeline from him, it's just been bad. Like Pixels.
The Meyerowitz stories is pretty good. It's like him and Ben Stiller, and they're brothers, and they got a family. It deals with their mom, their dad, their sister, and it's just kind of a weird, quirky family, and it's not afraid to like mire in some of the awkward relationship dynamics in that, and how they deal with loss, and it's a little bit sad, a little bit weird, and I really liked that about it.
Yeah. That's good, because I saw that on my feed, and I was like, I kind of want to watch this, and I saw Adam Sandler. I'm like, well, maybe I'll wait until I read some stuff on it, and then hearing
it's a really risky click.
Well, because it is. There's so much damn good on Netflix now, and not just like there's the. Have you seen the new Patton Oswalt? That's amazing, because it's like. It's post his wife's death, and so he has to kind of address that to a certain degree, and it's like, this is interesting to see a comedian kind of address something serious, and it's post everything, it's post Trump, post all these other things like that, and everything else, it's definitely a very, very interesting idea. Like I said, I'm now intrigued and interested in how that will be done, because that we are actually, by the way, at the hour mark. We've hit our point of talking, Brandt. We've been chatting for about an hour, and that's cool. That's close to the end of the show. And all we've learned is that Modern Rogue is on the trajectory point, and Field of Dreams is terrible. So.
Both of those things are accurate. So that sounds like good information to me.
That sounds exactly all we need to know. Brandt Hughes, thank you so much again for being on the show. Where can people find all the stuff you work on? More importantly, where can people, especially Modern Rogue, if they haven't heard of Modern Rogue by this point in time, where can they go, my friend?
Yeah, so youtube.com/Modern Rogue. That's MODERNROGUE. It's basically like a 20-minute show every week, multicam thing, really well edited, I think. And you can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Gadwag. That's GATOWAG. I'm also on Twitch. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also all over the place, just that username.
And it's on Mixer, on all the other social networks, sometimes on Elo, and of course your ever popular I'm trying to think of an honest to God dead
Peach.
Is Peach? That's Peach. That's right. Peach did die. God, I forgot about Peach until you mentioned it like today. I was gonna say Friendster, because that was like the last one I remembered, which is And Peach just went and gone. Anyways, I digress. Of course, you can find me. I'm at Vincent404 there. The Twitter is in the chat room, and everywhere else in between. If you want to catch previous episodes of the podcast, you can go to our website, CosmicRadio.TV/8BitLife. There you'll find links to show notes, the previous episodes. And of course, after you've given on all the other stuff to your monies and you look at your pocket, you say, hey, look, I got $1.50 left over. Head over to patreon.com/8BitLife and help the show become bigger, better, and more awesomer. So that is it for today. See you next time. Talk down to the Geek Box on completely and utterly random. Bye, people.
Bye.